Brood was great. I want to say that Brood was
Thank
great.
you. Thank
It
you.
was really, I don't know, reminded me of a book I've written actually a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, a
Oh,
little.
tell
Just
me. Tell me.
I mean, more. It's well. I think it's very funny because the book it reminds me of. My protagonist's name is also Mary,
Ah,
and she's also she's a survivor of a survival type story.
yeah.
With a I won't. I'm gonna tell this people who are listening. Go read the Brood. By the time it's out now, you should go read it. Uh, I'm gonna dance around spoilers. I went in mostly blind to the book, and I think that's the way people should experience it. The twists and turns that I didn't see coming were better because I didn't see them coming. But I'm going to dance around spoilers. But the ending of my book is similar-ish to the
Oh,
ending of
wow.
your book. Not like I think thematically, tonally, it feels they felt very, very similar. And I'm not going to say anything more of that because I don't want to tip the hand to how the book ends.
What
Uh,
about the title of your book? Can
oh,
we have
it's called Underneath.
underneath?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a love. I call it a love letter to the thing because
Oh,
it's set in Antarctica research station, all that, but it is also dealing with a woman who is going through some things. I would say, um,
awesome.
but the Brood is great. I absolutely loved it. Read it in two sittings. Um, I'll start with this question. It feels like I don't know. It feels like a survival horror story. It is, it has certainly I think elevated a little bit, but it feels like a survival horror story. Was that what you had in mind when you were writing it, when you started it? Was it, oh, this is going to be survival horror, or did it become that? Or is that you completely disagree with me?
Well, I mean, first of all, I have to disclaimer, like my horror education is I have a lot of gaps in it, and I'm
Oh, that's
doing all I can.
everybody.
So yeah, so is survivalist, is that a certain
I mean,
subgenre, or
well, yeah,
because I would think every horror story is a
well,
survivalist
see,
story.
it's the thing. It's the when you start fighting people about what subgenre, what books go where. Some people have things very set in mind. Like I know what my story is. This is a subgenre. Subgenre is like, and survival horror is more about like probably limited cast in a very in isolated setting,
Okay. Okay.
and generally like harrowing and it a lot about physical
I
survival
see.
it
Yes.
like it's about like literally trekking through an environment, through tackling some sort of violent oppressor, or
Mhm.
it could be monsters, it could be lots of different things, but it's like I don't know, the Resident Evil video games, that they were like coined survival horror video games, and a lot of times it's horror in general. Like it feels like some people make it about how your protagonist can't fight back. The protagonist has to be weak and vulnerable,
Right.
and they are constantly being pursued. You think to slasher stories. It's like usually the protagonist weak and
Mhm. Mhm.
fragile. In survival horror, a lot of times, I mean, like the book I also would compare to The Brood is also, I would call it a survival horror story, one of mine. Um, and it is about, there is no conflict. It's like, no, I'm not helpless. I'm not a helpless victim. I am going to fight back. I am going to try and, sometimes you see if it's like, oh, there's there's monsters around, the protagonist will end up killing some of the monsters.
Mm.
They are not fragile. They're not weak. And the horror is about, like, like Mary in your story, accruing these grievous injuries, and but still fighting, like still having that, like, and sometimes there is a plot point about, can I keep doing this, like the attrition of the
Mhm.
limits of human endurance. That's a part of it too, is like, and I think there are ties into especially like to body horror, which the Brood has in spades as well.
Yeah.
Lots of like fragility of the human form and all that stuff too. But I mean, that's partially why I asked, is like, you know, I some people, sometimes you don't know what your story is until it's
Yeah.
done, or you don't know for sometimes for years after. You're like, oh, that's what my book
Right.
is. I didn't really think about it. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I asked. I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes
Yeah.
I
Yeah. No, I would say I always intended for it to be a remote, isolated setting. So in that regard, yeah, I think it was always a survivalist story because that's kind of the eco horror element of the book. But and so listening to what you're saying, if it's not survivalist, I would imagine like
I
a
mean, it can be a
person.
lot. It can be multiple things too. It's not that. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
it's there's no, you don't have to put things in one basket. People
yes.
can, they can be split around, and which is that's the
You
other
have
thing.
the
Like
two baskets.
the aspect,
Yeah, that
uh,
basket is there for sure. The survivalist basket for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also the there's the body horror aspect of it, which is certainly prominent. Um, but the it's fast paced, and and there's also sometimes this. This is not a spoiler because this is just chapter 2, but it's like the captor captive element of it as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
That's also like, I don't know, that's a subgenre at a certain
Mhm.
point of having this captive slash captor uh
Yes, and
motif.
yes, and I did intentionally play around with that motif as well. Or the monster victim motif, like who really,
Mm.
yeah, who is the monster here? Who is in charge? Who's running the show? So that was
I mean, there's aspects of power, of who's in control, like, and you
yes,
see, I think that's Mary likes to have control of
yes,
things.
yes.
Yes. And I was gonna ask, she's like this, I phrased it in my question, is this, she's like a bulwark of like resistance, of like
Mhm.
of discipline and
Yeah.
resistance to like outside forces. Like, I control me. I am an
Mhm.
utter control of myself.
Exactly.
She's had to be. Um and you know, that is one of the themes of the story, is her dealing with how much control can she have of herself, and of how much out of outside forces, good and bad, can she resist. Is this resistance, is it against entropy? Is it against victimhood? Is it against humanity? Is it all against, is it against all those things?
Yeah, I think all of that is in there. I mean,
Okay.
I think we all move through life based on, our experiences, especially those early experiences. And for Mary, once she kind of landed on her survival philosophy, which is I'm the only person I can count on, and I have to be completely singular in my focus and my intention and my effort, and my power to get out of this powerless situation that I'm in. And once she even got like an inkling that that was possible, she just threw all of her being into it. And so her personal philosophy is I am, as you said, a bulwark. She thinks of herself as the fortress of her body. She's the only person that she believes she can rely on. It's this pathological self-sufficiency that you know defines who she is and is at the root of her success, and then in her quote unquote downfall.
I mean, it's there's a lot of that in me, and so it's like, I was reading the book, I'm like, ow, why don't don't do
Wait,
that.
I'm really like in what regard?
I mean, it's the, and I'm not as bad as I once was. I've gotten a lot better. Therapy helps people.
It
That's
sure does. It sure
that's
does.
not a hot take, but yeah, it helps everyone. Anyone you should, talking to somebody else about your problems is good for you. Um, it's more about the, wanting to do things like having this irrational, impractical belief that you can have this utmost control over you and the world. If you exercise enough control over you, you can also control everything around you and control the world you live in. And like in Mary's case, it is almost like the you could I think, and why it's so effective in the story is because it is you could almost be convinced that she's right.
Right. Well,
Because yeah,
she was for, a portion of her life, and it did get her out of her situation.
and I think that's the kind of the insidious part about it is
Yeah.
that it can work to a certain extent, but it also like cuts you off. Like
It cuts you off. It
she's a
makes you
lonely person.
Yeah, she's a lonely person. It kills your compassion. I mean, it's that whole like bootstraps philosophy,
Yeah,
which is the American hero's story, and it's
yeah,
really can be wonderful and inspiring, but there's also like an underside of it, which is, oh, we all should be able to do that if we just make up our minds. And oh, this extends to every aspect of my life. So, I always have to figure out myself. I got to pretend like I know the answers, know all the answers. I don't get to ask questions. I don't get to be vulnerable. And it's ultimately an emotionally deadly way to be in life.
yeah. And I mean, like having her, the challenges she faces with the girl, with the brood, the cicadas, which is also not a spoiler, but I won't go into full depth about the cicadas. Which, my God, I didn't really think much about. I lived in the South my entire life, except
Oh,
for
where?
except for a couple years in Canada. But I'm
Oh,
in Florida now. I'm from
okay.
Florida.
Okay.
We lived in Texas for another
Okay.
long stretch of time, but
Louisiana.
yeah, but I'm relatively familiar with obviously bugs
Right.
and cicadas in general, but this book is like, oh boy, I don't.
Yeah, and probably more the annual cicadas is what I was, those green,
Yeah,
fat, juicy ones. I wasn't familiar with the periodicals until 2020 when, Brood X was hitting the news cycle. And it was, very much hyped as like this plague is coming.
is that what brought it into the story? Because you
It
saw
is
the
what brought it.
okay,
It is, and that along with this wonderful short film by this filmmaker named Samuel Orr called "Return of the Cicadas,"
okay,
where he really beautifully captured like how magical and extraordinary they are, but also, you know, the footage of them emerging in
yeah.
en masse and crawling all over each other and emerging from the shells gives you the willies as well. So it was just this strange confluence of conflicting emotions.
I'll say your story also gave me the willies at times in the
Great.
best way. I will search for that. I want that. And I'm like this, and when you're like, oh, I don't, you said earlier, I'm still like learning the horror. What did I forget how you phrase it? Horror, your horror research or whatever, your horror learning,
My
whatever
education, yeah,
education. I don't. This hit me very heavy and hardest with all that gross bug stuff. It really got me.
great.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's what you want. That's what you want. Um, and I want to talk about Girl. I have a question about Girl, and not just Girl, but Girl's. I think central to this question, and I don't. And I think this is kind of fortuitous that I just happen to be interviewing you right now and reading The Brood right now. Because you're presented by Girl in the same way that Mary is. You know nothing about her. You just get this impression of her. Um, and the first, I don't know if this is also intended or not, but she immediately reminded me, I think probably because of the captor captive stuff too, but of Annie Wilkes from Misery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and not only because captor captive, a powerful woman taking charge, which is not a typical captor captive kind of dynamic. It's usually not a powerful woman. It's usually some man. Typically, most captor stories are all, a man is doing it.
Yeah, which is
Um,
interesting. That's probably why it reminds you of
yes,
Annie, because
for
there
sure.
aren't
It's a
that many out there.
no, there's not. But it's all, I think there's
Yeah.
another really interesting reason, I think, and it's something that I think the book does kind of the thematically connect to a lot, is because I have some friends who I think are this on this in that same boat. They're doing their horror education and they're reading Stephen King for the first time, and they read Misery for the first time, and their initial reaction. And I'm like, I think Misery is a great story. It's very powerful. Probably the best adaptation as well. The movie is
Hmm.
incredible, but there is Annie Wilkes is a larger woman, and she's painted almost as grotesque in Misery because of her size. And they were really pushed back by it. These are, younger women, and they're really like, they were like, oh, this is kind of mean to Annie just because she's bigger. It's very mean. And it's like, and this is before she becomes the villain, effectively. She's just a lady. And like they're like, oh, it's fat phobic, and I'm like, I don't know. Stephen King wrote that book 40 years ago. Culture has certainly changed about that. Um, but is and girl is this large woman, um, and you in that second chapter, you immediately juxtapose the first image you get of girl with the little carving, that little
Mm,
carving that persists throughout the story as well, which is also like, it reminded me, that carving reminded me of so much of, like, you talk about ancient,
the prehistoric
yeah,
fertility
ancient,
goddesses.
exactly,
Yeah.
and like ancient cultures, they all have these fertility goddesses. They're all like, large women,
Yes.
because that's motherly to,
Right.
it's this figure of
Yeah,
motherhood
the
and everything.
power of their ability to produce life is the emphasized in the shape of those carvings. Yeah.
Right. And in got it. This question is I just have a word, a mash of words I've written down, but
Go
there's
for
like there's this element of like,
it.
in your story in particular, there's this there's like this element of hypocrisy about how we view the women's shape, and
Mm,
like how, and in like, there's clearly themes of motherhood in this, but some of it's grotesque motherhood because of the cicadas, but there's also this presence of hypocrisy about how we women are, and Mary in particular, because she's like honed herself down. She's like,
yes.
I don't eat food. I'm like, oh my god, Mary, you need to eat more food. But like, about the demands of motherhood, of you need to gain weight when you're giving birth to children. They need to eat. Like, unborn children need food. You can't starve yourself. But there is this like, I don't want to tip my head to the second half of the story, and the some extra characters, the cast grows a little bit.
Hmm.
um but is that about, were you like specifically pointing at that hypocrisy about like the shape of women and how they have to be small but also be big at the same time, impossibly?
Absolutely. That's a great, I love how you have kind of boiled that down. They need to be small, but also be big at the same time. That's that's great. Um, Yeah, I mean, there's that element for sure, like the way that, what society and culture demand of us as far as appearance uh and I guess, advancing the population.
Yes.
Um and there's also, how we view ourselves and sometimes how we internalize that. And, so there is that cultural layer. Um, when I was younger, when I was a teenager in college, it was like, accept your body. And that was in the 80s and the early 90s. And, cosmetic surgery has been around for a while, but I think it's gotten more and more acceptable and
Yeah.
are commonplace. And I have nothing against it, but it's like accepting that my body looks the way it is. There is a kind of a power in that. But now I also have the power to, you know, sculpt it and shape it into some ideal that I have in my head. Or maybe that I am, you know, co-opting from what culture is telling me. So that piece is definitely there. And then drilling down to the character level of Mary, who, you know, was a child who, you know, in her own words, kind of hid out in the size of her body and, you know, was taunted. She spent part of her childhood in an actual orphanage,
Yeah.
you know, was taunted by some of these other orphans for the size of her body and experienced pain from that, but also, you know, almost like a cicada in a shell,
Yeah.
felt a kind of protection from it. But then at one point, she decides, you know, she associates that body and herself with the impoverishment of her childhood. And so, you know, part of that control she has, you know, I will never go back there. I will never be powerless. I will never be, you know, at the mercy of, you know, people surrounding me, people who don't care, you know, are either benign neglect to active neglect. I will never go back there again. So for her in the time that the story takes place as an adult, you know, she associates that larger body size with her own traumatic past. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know it's like, I don't know. You see it. She sees it reflected in Girl,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
exactly. And so
Yeah.
she like projects that onto Girl.
Which I love. Girl's
And
so cool.
Girl, who by the way is completely has no
No,
problem
because she's
with her own.
isolated. That's. I mean, I think
Yeah,
you. I mean, you. That. I mean, it really points at it very specifically. Like, because Girl is completely isolated from culture. She doesn't have this and like the only.
right.
It only comes in when other people come in and go, "Oh, you're gross. You're like, oh, you have no control." You know, things like that. That also, as a person who has also navigated body image issues, the other thing that reflected back at me in this book, which, you know, I'm fine now for the most part.
Yeah, and I certainly am writing from my own
Yeah.
feelings as well.
I
Yeah.
mean, candy's delicious. I can't emphasize enough. But cinnamon rolls are really good. But it's also I mean, there is it's the just to have that be, and like, again, it is that there's so much aspect of body horror in this, and the body horror is so much about intrusion and losing control of
Yes.
what and how your body looks and acts.
Which we all will. I mean, we
Yeah.
all will. It's just inevitable. It's
This is
time, it's aging, it's mortality. I
yeah.
mean, that's the great surrender that we all, you know, either we keep it buried and we're totally in denial about it, or one day it's like, how, you know, how do I make peace with that? You know, how do
Right.
I make peace with being in my life, you know, knowing
Being
there's
with
an
being
expiration,
in my body.
it being my life, being my body, knowing there's an expiration date. It's
Yeah.
like,
This is a periodic time I've plugged this comic book or the graphic novel multiple times on this podcast. It's called Upgrade Soul. It's
mm,
also explicitly about how we are tied inextricably to our body and the trauma that it has endured.
oh
You are
wow.
you are you are you cannot you cannot remove your consciousness. If you put your consciousness somewhere else, you're not you
No longer
anymore.
you.
You're
Yeah.
not you anymore. Like, you think that, oh, it's just because I'm me in here. This isn't me. I'm up here. Like, no. We were talking about our glasses, like, before, as we were starting to record, and I'm like, like, wearing glasses my entire life, it is me.
Yeah.
Like, my back hurts. I have a bad back.
Yeah.
That's partially me. Like, if you put me in a new body, I'm not me anymore, because I am to a certain extent my accrued trauma.
Yeah.
Which again, that's the one of the things that Mary is, I think, dealing with.
And your accrued healing as well.
Yeah, of
And
course.
our, yeah.
Yes. I don't want to. It's not just
Yeah.
the trauma, but I mean, it is.
Yeah.
People aren't they don't try to escape that as much. They're trying to say like, oh well, I can only have the good and none of the bad. I'm like, well, you have to process the bad to
Right.
get the good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Well, I'll have to check that out. What
it's
was the
very.
name of it?
It's called Upgrade Soul.
Upgrade Soul.
It's a like 5, maybe 10 years old now at this point. I read it when it came out, so it's just like always fresh in my mind. But it is a constant. It's about an old married couple that tries to do that with a new
Okay.
technology. They try and move.
Great.
They want to keep living. They love each other and they want to keep living, but they end up in weird little potato bodies. It's very
Wow.
strange. It's very odd, but because of that oddity, it
Yeah.
actually makes the themes very uh, central, and it's a absolutely beautiful story. Um, I love Girl. I want to like I could talk about Girl forever. She's such a good character. And
Thank you. Yeah.
I could you could tell me stories about Girl forever. I think she's just so fascinating. Um, the fact that she's so her and Mary such a good pair.
Yeah.
That the like yes, obviously like the relationship and how it develops, but mechanically as well. I just like it's such like this is it's for the from the largest part of the story. It's just them. There's no one
Mhm.
else, and that is I can't emphasize enough to a lot of people. I don't think people who haven't written that type of story. It's really hard to do. It's very difficult to write stories where there's just like two characters.
Yeah.
You've like you want to and like yeah, there's flashbacks and stuff like that, but it's largely the active portion of the novel is like mostly just Girl and Mary, and you're like you managed to keep it very exciting
Oh,
and fresh, and
thank
you did a very good
you.
job.
Thank you.
Um, we're running out of time for this segment. So
Okay.
we can move on to what I call the second act.
Okay.
This is broader questions, bookish questions. Um, I'm going to poke at you about opinions about writing, probably, for the most part. I'm going to start with a question from our last guest. And at the end of this segment, I'm going to ask you for a question for my next guest. So
Okay.
we give you a few minutes to ponder that in the background. But the question is from Joshua Ginsburg, good friend of mine and incredible writer. What were the top things that transformed your writing or thing, is there a specific thing that you can latch onto that really
Oh
transformed
my
your writing?
God. It's a great question. I think one of the main things was just being able to be alone in front of a computer, in front of like to be able to tolerate that,
Yeah.
to be able to tolerate starting and all that, all of the energy and that flashes from excitement to anxiety,
Yes.
which can manifest as procrastination. I don't have time, it's really like tolerating that energy. So I think I've gotten better at that. Another thing is tolerating feedback.
Oh yes.
I remember when I first started sharing my writing, it was like, I would wait to hear the feedback you know, really with bated breath, to borrow a cliche, but just like it felt so precious and raw, and like I just, my being relied upon that coming back positively.
Yeah.
And here getting more and more feedback, sharing my work more, being in a writing workshop was so helpful, because then you get multiple, which can be confusing on the one hand, but then on the other hand, it's like, oh, everybody's coming from their own perspective. Everybody brings all of their life with them
Yeah.
to every reading. And so starting to it turns you back to yourself, to tune into yourself and your original intention, and then to see, oh, does that feedback resonate with where I want to go with this and my original inspiration.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess the third thing, I think it was a transformational experience, was working with an awesome developmental editor for the first time for this book. I mean, I worked with Audra Figgins, and she was so great. I mean, she improved the story, significantly with her feedback. So that was a really cool collaboration to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to you have to expose yourself to the world. You have to expose that your work to other people and see and take that I don't know, not even take a hit. It's more about like understanding, like what you said, the totality of experience that people bring when they read. And it is like when I don't know, I was having this conversation on, let's see, Sunday. I was like, I I think they are asking like, I don't know, ever. I was talking about if I'm a good writer or not, or
Mm.
something like that. I was selling books, so it's like, I'm trying to impress people, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm the best. I have to, right? They're my books. I have to think that they're the best. I need to sell them. I have to believe in
Yes,
them.
absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm not like, I think we're all good writers. Like at a certain point, like everyone I know, like we're all good. We're all like but the experience of reading is so different than I think pretty much any other art, any other way you consume art, and the way that you
Yes,
can, if
very intimate.
yeah, exactly, because
Somebody's giving you several hours of their life
yeah,
to
and
spend with you.
styles can
Yeah,
the style of someone can immediately clash with how you think and how you
yes,
read, and they could be, you're like, oh, I don't like it, and you're like, well, this person is widely revered, or they're a bestseller, or they've won all these
right. What's
awards, or
wrong with me that I'm not getting this?
yes, and
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's moving past the fact that like, oh, they're not, like, I very rarely will say they're not a good writer.
Right.
It's like like there's a certain point where I'm like, no, that's just not for me. It's not. We, for whatever reason, the chemistry isn't there. But it's like when you're just starting. Like I do a
I
revision.
like that word chemistry because it's a relationship with
Exactly.
the word. It's like, am I gonna go the whole distance with this? We'll just
Yeah.
have coffee. We're not gonna sit down to
Yes. I
dinner.
mean, I mean, I'm also like, if I don't drive with something, I'm a DNF. I put it down, but I'm
Mhm.
also not going to go to like social media and say,
Right.
DNF. I didn't like it. It's not good. Blah blah blah. I'm like, nah, it's that's not for me. It's fine. There's millions of books in the world. I don't need to love every single one of them.
Yeah, and you're a writer, you know what it takes, again, to sit in front of the blank page
Yeah,
and
it's a lot
yeah,
of work. It's a
yeah.
lot of work. That was a great answer. I will come back to you for a question. For it can be any kind of question for our next guest, and I will tell you the guest if you want to know, or you can go blind. But I have other questions for you in the meantime. Um, who's the writer more people should be reading?
Mm, gosh, I mean,
No wrong
I
answers.
love Karen Russell. And she's considered magical realist,
Yeah, I love a good magical realism as well.
and I'm sure a lot of people are reading her, but maybe I would say maybe more horror fans might be interested in reading Karen
I mean,
Russell.
I love when people come out here and give me non horror recs. I really like that because I get plenty of horror recs. I get so many. I have too many horror books. I can't read them all. I don't have time. So when people go like, yeah, there's this like Alma Katsu was on here. She gave me a crime novelist. I'm like, I want to read everything, right? I want
Hmm.
to really, you want to inform your writing. You should be reading as
Yes.
many genres as you possibly can.
Yes, and I love that about her because it creeps up on you that you're reading some aspects of her writing are horror.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful and fun, and she's just a beautiful, beautiful writer.
Okay. That's good. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. I try and link to everything that people bring up, but it's hard sometimes. Um, what's the best piece of advice you followed?
The best piece of advice, that non-action is an action.
Very good. Like that a lot. Non-action isn't action. I need to start using that. Honestly, I need to start telling people that because
Well,
sometimes people don't understand. I think.
yeah. And for me that represents I don't have to react right now or today. You know, I can take a breath, I can sit back. Maybe I'll react in 2 days or a week, or maybe I won't even. And getting back to this issue of control, like what happens when I sit back? Like what becomes available? Maybe some resolution I hadn't even anticipated.
Yeah. I mean, it immediately springs to I don't know, social media and the internet now. It's like everyone something happens and you have to like give your opinion. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I don't need to. I'm busy.
Yeah, I mean, and and as writers, we're in the business or the practice of adopting or occupying different points of view.
Yeah.
That takes time. It takes thought. It takes, you know, consideration.
Right. Yeah, think of don't just stop. You don't have to you can just take a beat.
Take a beat.
Take a beat. Don't don't let your don't I believe me, I have a surplus of words and I still try. I'm like, do I need to answer that? Do I need to say anything right now? Can I just sit
Yeah.
and be quiet?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
probably fine.
And I mean, I have this I've come to notice about myself, like whenever I feel that little like, like that just have to just respond right now, that is the signal to exactly not respond.
No,
So,
exactly. What do you like again? It's your time is finite and
yeah.
it's valuable. Use it, apply it to things that are that you need to live and that you want to cultivate. Um, what is your grammar hot take?
Okay. What became apparent to me in editing The Brood is I have a tick of using the phrase, uh, as something else happened.
Mm,
So
yeah.
as I was packing my suitcase, the jackhammer outside the window, uh, began. The jackhammering began. And I know it's in my mind because like I just feel like everything is happening at once. And so that's a way of phrasing like this
As
stuff
this,
isn't happening
as that.
sequentially. It's all happening at the same time. But it was pointed out to me like how much I rely upon it. And once it was, I was like, holy, I really
Yeah, when you find those things, you're like, oh, I, I really, do- I mean,
it's a
yeah,
crutch. It's a
and the more
crutch.
it is a crutch, and and like occasionally you're like, once in a while, it's fine,
Right.
but not all the time, not
Right.
every chapter, every other paragraph I use this same clause. I use this like it's
Yes.
no, you need to cut it out. But I don't know. I try and I try not to think about it too much while I'm actually like working on a first draft.
Right. Well,
But yeah.
no, this is like exactly. I mean, after we capture the spirit and the heart of the thing, get it on paper, I think of it as like the math piece of the work, like where it almost is, well, let me use that phrasing, 20% of the time, and let me, where you
Yes.
really do, it's a kind of a harmony that you bring into the work through getting that specific about the word choices,
Right. Clarity and intent.
clarity and intent.
That's my revisions workshop. Those are the two words I hammer. It's clarity and intent. Is the work clear? And what's your intent? Does it deliver the intent you want? And
That's
there's
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which time do we got? Okay. What's a book that rips out your heart?
Uh, okay, well, I will go to horror on this one. Paul Tremblay's Cabin at the End of the World.
Cabin at the End of the World. Yeah.
Um, when I really started exploring writing horror, when I realized like I want to check this out. I don't know how. I mean, I guess I would have just come across his work because, yeah,
He's Paul Tremblay. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But there is a depiction of love and devotion to one's partner in against like everything that the world seems to be screaming at you that I found profoundly moving. It's a very intense story. But I just thought the fact that he was able to thread something so beautifully human into it was I realized like, oh, this is what horror is capable of.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a thing that some people don't get. I'm a
right.
big. I think we're all proselytizers at a certain point, but it's very much like I was selling books this past weekend at a writing retreat to people who are a lot of people who don't typically read horror, and I'm like, well, horror is not what you think. It's not just Stephen King anymore. It's not just Clive Barker anymore. It's not the 80s anymore. And they were specifically, I was like, it's very female forward now. It's there's like lots of women working in horror and really bringing feminism and progressive women forward books, both about with women main characters and issues that affect women, and they are center stage, and they were amazed. I'm like, here, and I listed off. I was like, here's a bunch of authors you could check out. Like, you don't, and it's not just, oh, you need to read my books. Like, no, you should read hard because they're books like people like Paul Tremblay working, where it's like you need to, you're missing out on
Right,
incredibly powerful and beautiful work.
right,
Like,
right,
yes, horror stories are harrowing.
right.
Like,
They shock an awareness
right,
into you. Like, yeah, there's just something about the blast of a horror story that leaves you kind of open and vulnerable to something profound.
right. Which, I mean, I would say that your book achieves. I would say The Brood achieves that.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was really. I also I don't see the thing is I start talking about the last few chapters of the book, and I get a little. I'm like, I can't. The spoilers.
It's
It's
tough, right? It's
really spoiler sales here. But I'll say it delivers. It's very powerful, and I really loved it. Um, what's your question for our next guest? Do you have one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with something, simple.
Okay.
I journaled this morning with my Sharpie gel. I think it's a zero point 0.7.
Okay.
I love the flow of the ink on that page. There's something really magical about that. I wonder if this next author, has any kind of practice of pen on paper, or if they are just straight to the keyboard.
Okay. I like that. That's a good question. Everyone, this is why I do this, because these questions people come up with are really good and really interesting, and things I would probably never think of. But practice the pen and paper versus keyboard, because we all have opinions about it. That's
Yeah.
like we all of us
Yeah.
we all have our little our rituals, our
Yes.
routines.
Yes.
I'm jotting this down so I don't forget.
With a pen and paper, I would imagine.
Yes, it is my Pilot G2.
All right.
Yeah, it is my old reliable. It's not my fanciest pen, but it is the one I use every day. Um, all right, that's it for the second act. We can move on to the final segment, which is time for blood. It's time for hardship, struggle. Either with a work in progress, with something you have finished, something in the past, a struggle. It could be a struggle business wise, something you're. It could be a struggle with ethically, with nuts and bolts. It could be anything, really. I'm open. Do you have anything that comes to mind?
I think, well, the first thing that comes to mind is just, time,
Okay.
which we all have struggles with,
The
I'm sure.
limits of time.
The limits of time, yes.
Yeah.
Um, and like I have a publicist who has been great, just like consulting with me. She didn't have time to take me on, but we've had a couple of phone calls. So I'm doing a lot of the publicity for the Brood myself, and which in a lot of ways is great because this publicist would have been awesome and cared for my work, I'm sure, but it is my baby, and some, I feel like no one will care for it the way I will. But like that's, there's so many, you can go down so many rabbit holes. Like every time you reach out to one bookstagrammer, and then you follow them, and then there's like 15 more, and so it's like, and that's the thing about social media that I find really difficult in general, because I like to start a book and finish a book, and like social media is just boundless. So I haven't been writing. I did just finish a manuscript, but my new writing, like I'm trying to plot out a new horror novel, and so I just find that the time management piece. I know that's
No.
really boring,
I
but
mean that
yeah,
you're literally every writer listening to this is nodding their head.
yeah,
Every single one. It's like it's not like, yes, it's not sexy, right? It's not sexy to talk about like, oh, I have literally, you're literally describing me right now, because I'm doing this morning. I'm not going to write today. Like I'm going to be doing other stuff all day. Like I'm doing other work. I'm recording this interview. I got to clean my house. Like it's like, again, it's like there's demands of real life, there's demands of other jobs, which most of us are
right,
wearing 3 or 4 hats probably.
yeah.
Um and it's I have a manuscript, and like just the same, I am plotting out
But you've
a new
written so
one.
many books, though. I mean,
I well
you
that's
obviously have found some time at some
I
point.
do write very fast. I think that's the difference, is like I get it. I'll finish a manuscript in a month,
Yeah,
right?
I'm a super slow writer. I mean, that's a whole other aspect of time. Like,
Right.
yeah, The Brood is, I don't know, it probably took me a year and a half to write, and then to, yeah.
Clean
So
it, yeah,
I,
revise and all that stuff. But I mean, I
yeah,
don't it there's I mean, I people say that to me a lot. They're like, "Robbie, you have so many books. That's really
yeah,
impressive." And I go, "Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's better that if I had taken longer." Like maybe, like I don't know. I love all my books and I think they're all great, but there is like there's I think it's the nature of all of us, where we're like writers, where we're like very thoughtful, very like, oh wait, should I have done this differently? Should I have done that instead of this? Was this the right project? Should I published it at all? Maybe I should have spent, instead of writing another book, maybe I should have spent more time publicizing. Maybe I should have spent more time
mm,
marketing, things like that,
interesting.
and trying to get my name out there more. And it's like,
Right.
I mean, this is partially why I'm doing a podcast, but it's like, it's not, and then like, yeah, we're all different. You follow your own path, you write your own speed. You can't be me and I can't be you, even though like, and again, people say, oh, Robbie, you write books so fast. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, I read other people's books and they say it took a year and a half to write. I'm like, it's so beautiful. And like
Mm,
and like, I don't know, I have faced it where like people have this expectation of books taking long to write, and then when I say that I could pump it out quickly, there is the assumption that maybe the book isn't good if they haven't read
mm,
it, and I have to fight against that a little bit. Um, but it's like, I don't know, it is still the demands of like, well, I want to get another manuscript written.
yeah. Well,
I
I
want to
mean,
have I want and like it's also just the joy of like,
right.
we like writing. I want to
And
write.
that's the key, and that is the key. Like if that's what, if that is what is the energy that's coming up for you, and there's pleasure and joy. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't let it stop me. I think that's the
Yeah.
other thing is like, as long as you don't let any of these
Right.
all these
Yes.
warring conflicts
Yes.
stop you, then it's
Yes.
whatever. I still
Yes.
write, and it's again, it's not like, again, you are trying it. I tell this to other authors who are just starting their journey. I'm like, however hard you think you need to sell your book, you need to do work even harder, do more, as much as you possibly can stomach. I know
Yeah.
it's hard sometimes, but
Yeah.
it it is how it takes a long time for sometimes, like, most people aren't those like flash in the pan hot overnight successes.
Right.
It's mostly like, no, slow and steady
Incremental.
pressure,
Yeah.
build that fan base, get your name out there, show
Yeah.
people, no, my work is valuable, indispensable, please. And then grow that. I wish I had done that when the reason I got so many books out is because I wrote a lot of books really fast in the beginning and published them as fast as I possibly could. And I think at a certain point, I think what you're doing right now, you're like, hey, Robbie, let's
Yeah.
talk about my book. And I'm like, that sounds great.
And
But it,
thank you for that. I mean,
oh
that
no,
that you are giving other authors
I mean, I just love
the
chatting.
opportunity.
I'm a yapper, and
Yeah.
I don't know, your book's great. Like, it's the other thing, like, there is so much. There's so many books coming out, like, every day. There's so many more books.
I know.
And it's like, I'm like, oh, well, and there is a finite amount of time I can read and
Right.
record an interview and publish it and edit
And to
it,
be
all
able
that
to
stuff.
read for pleasure still too, without
Yes,
having to like, oh my God,
I
I
know.
need to,
I read pretty fast, but there's still like, and I also would like to do other things but read. I do love
really.
reading and writing. I would like to, I want to go make a cake, and that takes time. I'll probably start making a fruit cake today for the holidays. So
Very nice.
that's also on the agenda. That's some
Like,
maybe if I get there. Um,
reclaiming the Christmas fruitcake. I like it.
well, there's
Or the
this is
Halloween
well,
fruitcake.
no, it is a Christmas fruitcake. This is
Yeah.
this is completely off topic, but whatever.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but there is a Claire Saffitz. She's a baker and food personality, but she's like, this is the bad fruitcakes give them a bad name. Like, it's not just bricks that you buy at the grocery store at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
If you make a fruitcake, and you literally feed it brandy for 2 months and then you serve it, basically. So it's like, you have to start making it
Wow.
now. If you want
Oh
it in
my
time for
God.
Christmas, you have to make it now, and then you feed it like it's like it's a sourdough starter or something. Um, but yeah,
That's
the
awesome.
demands of time,
Yeah.
and like wanting to be pushed and pulled in all these directions, and it's like I attended a panel about it at this year's Stoker, about being prolific. A panel was about, but a lot of it was about trying to making time in little pieces wherever you can set aside 25 minutes to write, or to start to plot out your story, or to do this or that. And a lot of it is like, how much do you need to write? Then you have to carve it out. Like, it's not going to do it itself. And like
Right.
but it's like, that's a learning curve. Like, it's hard to that mindset of
Right.
me in particular,
Yeah.
that 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 mindset of like, I'm writing now. It doesn't happen quickly. It seems like a lot of people can just like, oh, I'm writing. To me, it's like, I have to like sit down, and I have to get myself in the right headspace.
Get the coffee, get
Light a candle. Well, I don't.
candle. Yeah.
I drink this swill, this chemical non energy
Oh,
drinks. But
okay.
yeah, caffeine. It is still
Yeah.
caffeine. Yeah. But finding like, oh, I do have half an
Like,
hour
you
right
have to
here.
transition into it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the cultivating, always being, I don't know, and writing. And there's a lot of it where you can write when you're not writing. You can
Yes.
you can be thoughtful about writing. You go for a walk, you're driving, running an errand, turn off the music and just
Yes.
think about the
Yeah,
project.
sometimes that's more productive, like, than, being holed up in, the apartment all day, like, staring at the screen, like, trying to just squeeze something out, but going out, walking, moving your body, feeling the air temperature, just letting your senses come alive, and then all of a sudden, uh, your next plot point emerges, or the solution to,
Whatever problem.
the scene. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm touch grass. People say they joke online, but I'm like, no, you really should. It
That's
really
great.
does. It really does help.
Yes.
Or go consume art. Go look at a
Yeah.
painting. Go read. Go watch a movie. Like that, you'll find ideas. You find solutions in those things. You see, go study similar stories to your story and see how did they solve this problem. Oh,
Right.
they did this. I'm like, oh well, how would I do that here, and would it work, and all that stuff. Like that analytical mindset, it never stops. Um, no, but I think every author listening went, yeah, I every time I talk to somebody, they're like, I'm so busy, like I have, either you have kids or you have three jobs, or there's always more demands
Life
than
is
I'm.
always coming at you. Life
Yeah,
is always lifing. Yeah.
there's
So
that we're not lazy people.
no.
I really fight back. I want to push back against that stereotype that writers are like these airheads, like, oh, I just gotta let the story come through me. Like, no, we are like the hardest working people on earth. We
Yeah.
are like, writing is hard work, but it's like the writing is only a piece of the entire job. Like what we're doing is a part of the job, but the standing behind a table at a bookstore, or signing books, talking to people, doing a panel, like all of it, putting something on social media, learning Photoshop so that I can make a graphic to
Yeah.
put
This
on
is all
social
a part.
media.
It's all a part of taking oneself seriously,
Yeah.
which, you know, doesn't always come naturally.
And it's no, it is not. That's the other thing. It's we are generally, quiet, isolate,
Introvert. Yeah.
yeah, more thoughtful,
Yeah.
quieter people. But it is like, turn yourself up, turn that volume up all the way. That's not a problem for me. I'm very loud. Rebecca, I want to say before you go, people should go read The Brood. Brood is an incredible book. I'm so happy that I got to read it. I got to read it
Thanks
early,
for
which is very nice.
reading.
But I'm like, the next time I have a couple friends who's like, I'm gonna mention Misery to them, and then I'm gonna mention your book. I'm gonna say, oh, you didn't like Misery, you should read The Brood and get that. They love oopy goopy body horror stuff too, which is perfect.
Great.
Which, yes, exactly. Um,
Wonderful. Thank
yeah,
you.
uh, very effective novel, very good. How can people find you? Tell people where to follow you online, where they can find your books, all that stuff.
So mainly I'm on Instagram at bomb.rebecca. Trying to be more and more facile and interesting with that. It doesn't come naturally, but I
It's
want to
hard.
be willing and I want to show up. Like that's what we were talking about. So they can come and see my earnest efforts. And then my website, RebeccaBaum.com, has more information, although I haven't updated it. I need to. So, um,
Same. I also
yeah.
this is like, that's the
That's
same
another
thing.
time thing. It's
Yeah,
like it takes me so long to even do one Instagram post, because it's like I'm still trying to integrate it and have it be a little more organic, but work in progress, work in progress.
exactly. I'll post the links to all this stuff. There'll be a link to buy The Brood in the show notes. There'll be a link to your
Awesome.
website, link to your
Thank
Instagram, all that
you.
stuff. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Robbie.